What if I told you that everything you thought you knew about Thanos, the Mad Titan, the villain who snapped half the universe out of existence, was only part of the story? What if the real reason behind his actions was never about balance, but something far darker, more calculated, and terrifying? This isn't just another fan theory or breakdown video. What you're about to hear has been buried in the deepest corners of the Marvel Universe, overlooked by most, hidden by design. And once you know the truth, you might never see the MCU the same way again. In the next few minutes, we're going to unravel secrets so mind-bending they'll change how you see not just Thanos, but the fate of the entire multiverse. This is the story you were never supposed to hear, the hidden truth about Thanos. Now, before we dive in, I want to ask you something directly. Have you ever felt like something about Thanos just didn't add up? Like his motivation to bring balance to the universe was just a cover for something deeper? That feeling you've had, that there's more beneath the surface? You're not alone, and you're exactly who this video is for. I want you to stay with me, not just to hear the full story, but because I promise you this. By the end of this video, you're going to get the answer you came looking for. You won't leave with more questions. You'll leave with clarity. You clicked this video for a reason, and I won't waste your time. Let's dig deep together. Here's the twist nobody talks about. Thanos may not have been acting alone. Some of the most powerful cosmic forces in the Marvel Universe, beings you've heard of, and some you haven't, may have been using him as a pawn or worse, a distraction. Why was he so obsessed with the Infinity Stones? Why did he truly want to wipe out half of all life? And what horrifying reality was he trying to stop or protect us from? This isn't just about one villain. This is about a chain of events stretching across timelines, from the birth of Celestials to the secrets of Kang's multiversal war. And somehow, Thanos sits at the center of it all, but not in the way we thought. I want you to pay attention to the small details, things you've seen 100 times in Marvel movies but never noticed. We're going to connect dots that were left scattered intentionally. And I'm not here to just throw wild ideas at you. Everything I'm sharing is backed by story arcs, interviews, and even scenes you might have skipped over. This story hits different because it isn't fiction anymore. It's revelation. So sit tight, because this journey is going to get intense. Before the snap, before the Avengers, before even the rise of the Infinity Saga, Thanos had already begun his quiet campaign across the cosmos, one that went far beyond the battlefield. What most people miss is that he wasn't just collecting stones. He was gathering information, visiting ancient civilizations long wiped from the records, striking deals with entities older than time, and digging into forbidden knowledge that the Celestials themselves had buried. This wasn't a rampage. It was a calculated path, and every step brought him closer to something far more dangerous than we ever imagined. The truth is, Thanos wasn't acting like a conqueror. He was acting like someone racing against time. And what if he was? Let's rewind. Thanos didn't always act alone. He had a network of loyal followers. Yes, the Black Order, led by Ebony Maw and Proxima Midnight. But that's the part we were meant to see. Behind the curtain, there were others, silent collaborators who had access to restricted cosmic intelligence, including secrets about the multiverse that predate even the Time Variance Authority. There's a theory gaining serious traction online, especially on Reddit and in deep Marvel forums, that suggests Thanos was in direct contact with one of the Watchers, or worse, a rogue Eternal who defected long before the events of Eternals played out on Earth. And here's where things start to twist. Someone or something may have been feeding him visions of a future so horrific that wiping out half the universe felt like mercy. Now, this is where the rabbit hole deepens. There are discrepancies in Thanos' behavior that no one can explain. In Infinity War, his resolve is cold and absolute. But there are moments, tiny expressions, pauses in dialogue, where it almost seems like he's conflicted, as if he's seen something the audience hasn't. What if those cracks were clues? And what if they point to a larger cosmic threat that even he was terrified of? Some fans think it's Galactus. Others believe it ties directly to the Beyonders or even the One Above All. But here's the catch. None of those theories explain the anomalies found in the post-blip timeline. Strange disappearances, warped energy fields around the former locations of the stones, and subtle changes in characters' memories that even the TVA hasn't addressed. There's also the question of Gamora. Not just her betrayal, but her origin. origin? Why did Thanos choose to raise her? What did he see in her that made him think she was the one to carry on his legacy? Was it guilt or insurance? Some believe Gamora herself may unknowingly hold a key to the real threat. But then again, Nebula's transformation post-snap hints at something even darker. Someone is manipulating these characters from the shadows, and every clue only raises more questions. And just when you think you're getting close to the truth, one name keeps surfacing in hidden scripts, deleted scenes, and behind-the-scenes leaks. Someone we were never supposed to see again. But I'll get to that. Just not yet. Things start to unravel when the clues that once seemed clear suddenly vanish. A decrypted transmission believed to contain fragments of Thanos' private recordings, a file circulating on dark web fan forums, was uploaded for just minutes before it disappeared. Not taken down by Marvel Studios or any copyright strike, but scrubbed clean from every platform by an unknown source. Even cached versions were corrupted, almost like someone was actively erasing the trail. That file was supposed to contain audio logs from an unnamed planet where Thanos had been seen years before he attacked Xander, talking to an unidentified figure about the price of cosmic clarity. The disappearance wasn't a fluke. That was the first sign that someone or something was still watching and didn't want this truth out. Then came the warning. A well-known Marvel content creator, someone with deep connections to behind-the-scenes leaks, suddenly went radio silent after teasing a video titled The Titan Code. What Marvel doesn't want you to know, their entire channel was wiped. No strikes, no farewell post, nothing. Just gone. People thought it was a publicity stunt, but others swear they got a direct message before everything was deleted. A cryptic sentence. Stop digging. You're not supposed to know what he saw. Now, the theories are exploding on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. Why was this particular narrative being silenced when so many others are allowed to run wild? What's even more disturbing is how the few remaining clues lead us back to Titan, Thanos' ruined homeworld. There's a secret event, almost never discussed, that predates his obsession with population control. A mass extinction event not caused by war or famine, but by a rupture in space-time that appeared near Titan's core. This wasn't natural. Something came through, and whatever it was, it changed Thanos forever. Some now believe that this rupture wasn't just the beginning of his madness, but that it marked the first contact between Thanos and a force older than the universe itself, something the TVA quietly redacted from all multiversal logs. But if that's true, then Thanos wasn't just reacting to the universe's chaos. He was trying to prevent something far worse from breaking through again. And here's where betrayal hits hardest. One of Thanos' closest lieutenants, someone presumed loyal to the end, may have been working for another cosmic power the whole time. There's growing speculation that the Black Order strategies during the Battle of Wakanda weren't just about recovering the Mind Stone. They were trying to activate a hidden signal buried deep in Vision's neural code, one linked to the very energy signature that first appeared on Titan. If that's true, then Thanos was being manipulated from within. But by who? Just as one survivor from Titan, a barely known character from Forgotten Titan comic, steps forward to reveal what really happened in the last days before the planet fell. They vanish. Their final message? It's not over. He's not the end. He was only the beginning. Just as the final message from Titan fades into obscurity, another threat emerges, one that pulls a mystery into even deeper, more dangerous territory. A former Kree intelligence officer, long believed dead after the events of Captain Marvel, resurfaces on the outer rim of nowhere with encrypted files dating back to Thanos' earliest campaigns. These aren't war plans or battle maps. They're detailed psychological profiles, celestial coordinates, and worst of all, projections of timelines that should never have existed. The Kree operative, who once specialized in cosmic anomalies, claims to have intercepted communications between Thanos and an unclassified entity referred to only as the Architect. According to her, the Architect isn't a person, but a presence, a universal constant that thrives in collapsed realities, feeding off imbalance, and manipulating timelines not to break them, but to reshape them into something unrecognizable. And this presence? She says Thanos didn't create the snap to destroy. It was his attempt to seal the door. But here's where things get worse. The files the Kree brings aren't consistent with what's already been uncovered. They directly contradict the Titan survivor's version of events, casting doubt on everything we thought we were beginning to understand. The timeline of the rupture, the origin of the Mind Stone, even the first sighting of the Black Order, none of it lines up anymore. And the moment this contradiction becomes public on a lesser-known Marvel conspiracy livestream, the channel is hit with a wave of coordinated takedowns and anonymous reports, followed by a suspicious data breach that wipes their archives clean. The host, who was already dealing with growing online harassment after posting about the Architect's Curse, receives a hand-delivered envelope days later. Inside is a single line, printed in a typeface no one recognizes. 2 timelines have already collapsed. Yours is next. Suddenly, the stakes are no longer about Thanos. They're about everything we think we know about the universe's structure itself. Meanwhile, someone else gets pulled into the storm, Wanda Maximoff. Not the version we saw unravel in Multiverse of Madness, but an earlier variant who somehow exists outside the known branches of the sacred timeline. A piece of recovered SWRD footage, leaked to private servers on Discord, shows her reacting violently to a vision that mirrors the imagery from Titan's ancient collapse, a vision of light bending inward, of screaming stars, a throne made of bone and broken timelines. In the audio, barely audible through the static, she whispers something that instantly becomes the center of a new theory trending across TikTok and YouTube Shorts. It wasn't his choice. He saw it too late. Suddenly, it's no longer clear who's responsible for what, or who's even telling the truth. And just as investigators begin to connect the dots between Thanos, Wanda, and the Kree operative, a massive solar flare disables communication across a restricted quadrant of the galaxy for exactly 8 minutes and 17 seconds. The same amount of time the snap lasted in real time. What happens during that window changes everything, but no one's talking about it. Yet, the shift was almost imperceptible at first, just a growing tension in the air, an unnatural stillness that clung to every room like smoke after a fire. But then the signs became too clear to ignore. The main character, who until now had been chasing shadows across ancient data logs and half-erased broadcasts, starts to feel those same shadows watching them. It begins with something simple. Their comms device, encrypted beyond standard StarkTech protocols, begins receiving static transmissions during sleep hours. They're fragmented and distorted, but occasionally a voice breaks through, low, guttural, barely human, repeating the same phrase over and over. You're not supposed to see this. At first, they assume it's a psychological trick, maybe a ghost signal from one of the corrupted multiverse branches. But then someone close to them, someone who's been quietly helping them piece together the Thanos puzzle from behind the scenes, disappears without a trace. This wasn't a stranger. This was someone they trusted implicitly. A lifelong ally who knew the risks, who had warned against pushing too hard into the multiversal fractures, but stayed anyway. Their last message is a scrambled video file with half the screen flickering black, showing them looking terrified, muttering about the mirrored time frames and the thing that came before the stones. The clip ends mid-sentence, as if cut off by something or someone. No sign of forced entry, no digital footprint, no goodbye. Just gone. The fear hits hard. It isn't just about what they're trying to uncover anymore. It's about who's willing to erase them to keep it buried. Paranoia starts setting in. Their reflection glitches for a split second in the mirror, just long enough to notice a difference in the eyes. Devices go dead without warning, then reboot with corrupted files. Data they never accessed starts appearing in their own logs. Notes written in their own handwriting, but not by them. They begin questioning everything. Was Thanos truly the villain, or was he just another victim of a deeper force that twists perception and memory? What if the real danger wasn't what Thanos did, but what he tried to stop and failed? The deeper they dig, the more they realize that this isn't just a trail of cosmic secrets. It's a trap laid across time, one that resets every time someone gets too close to the truth. Then comes a direct threat. Not a message, not a voice, a face, seen in a crowd, in a reflection, in the corner of a live stream screen for less than a second. A face they recognize, but from where they can't recall. It stares at them, expressionless, before vanishing. And that night, the stars don't look right. Patterns are off. Constellations have shifted slightly, as if something is bending the sky. Their dreams are filled with spirals, reverse echoes of past events, and the face again, closer this time. No more theories, no more safe guesses. This is no longer a search for truth. It's a race against something that rewrites reality as it hunts you. And now they're out of time. Everything the main character thought they understood, the hidden recordings, the vanishing allies, the warnings whispered through corrupted files, shatters in a single moment when they return to secure archive, only to find someone waiting inside. What if I told you that everything you thought you knew about the very person who first pointed them toward Thanos' hidden villain who snapped half the universe out of existence? This figure had remained mostly behind the scenes. What if the real reason behind his actions was never about confirming anomalies, but something far darker, but more calculated and terrifying? They finally speak without this isn't just another fan theory language or vague metaphors. What you're about to hear has been buried in the deepest corners of the Marvel universe. The real story was never about what Thanos did, hidden by design, or even why. And once you know the truth, they say, you might never see the MCU and every step taken to uncover in the next few minutes, part of that design. We're going to unravel. They're not uncovering so mind-bending. They'll change. They're playing how you see not just Thanos, one that's been running in loops across the entire multiverse. Designed by a story you would never suppose Thanos ever was. The hidden truth about this Thanos, person, one seen as a mentor, before we dive ally, I want to ask you emotional investment in the mystery. Have you ever felt like something they were never trying to stop the main character from like his motivation to bring guiding him toward the universe was just a cover for something far enough to trigger something feeling you've had, something that there's more beneath the surface. Fail-safe hidden not alone, and you're exactly who the video is for. Because I want you to stay with me. Not the main character isn't who they think they are. I promise you, not entirely. By the end of their memories, their instincts, you're going to get the answer you even their nightmares were implanted. You won't leave with part of a multiversal experiment. You'll leave with clarity. Conducted by a version of Kong that was erased during the last war. I won't waste your time to test if someone could discover the truth on their own. Here's the twist nobody talks about. And now that they have a Thanos may not have been acting alone. Implanted during powerful cosmic forces in the Marvel universe has beings you've heard of, and what it's counting down may have been using him as a pawn or worse, a distraction. The implications hit Why was he so obsessed with distorted messages? The face Why did he truly want to wipe changes in the stars? And what horrifying reality was he trying to stop manipulated reality or protect us from? The simulation this isn't breaking just about one villain. The people who this is about a chain of events stretching across timelines. They were pulled back into Celestials to prevent the collapse from multiversal over into other timelines. And somehow, and Thanos is at the center of it all. The ally revealed not in the way we thought. Were projection I want you to pay attention to the small existing details. Only as long as the character things you've seen 100 times in Marvel movies, the truth now never noticed. The projection begins to dissolve before their eyes scattered. Intentionally. A final warning. I'm not here to just throw wild ideas. Open the gate. Everything I'm sharing is backed by story arcs, interviews, every assumption, and even scenes you might have skipped over. Trying to destroy the universe. This story hits different or try to erase the corrupted layer. Its main character was unknowingly born into. Because this journey is going to never end stones. Before the snap, before the Avengers, and whatever they are now waiting to rise is no longer content staying in the background. Thanos had already begun his quiet campaign across the cosmos. Silence settles in. One that went far beyond not the kind that brings calm. What most people miss is that he wasn't just collecting stones. Like the quiet, he was gathering information. Visiting and then the alert civilizations long every device the main character owns, striking deals with encrypted comms, backup drives, and digging into offline knowledge that the Celestials themselves read with the same urgent signal. This wasn't a rampage, containment breach. It was a calculated timeline instability. And every step brought him closer. The words are meaningless on the far more dangerous, but deep down, imagine they know what it means. The truth is, whatever Thanos wasn't acting like a conqueror, just waking up. He was acting like someone racing against touching other realities. And what if altering threads of time that you never even stepped into? Thanos didn't always act alone. Someone has come and put it back in the box. Followers, but that someone isn't a stranger. The Black Order, it's a friend, led by Ebony Maw, a close ally who's been with them from the beginning. But that's the part we were meant to see. Someone who fought beside behind the multiverse first crack. There were others. Some of the collaborators without access to restricted cosmic and when they appear without warning, no secrets, no explanation. Multiverse that predate the tension shifts from dread to betrayal. There's a theory gaining serious traction online. Doesn't waste time, especially on Reddit. They tell the main character that they've been sent by a Thanos was in direct contact with one of the Watchers, one operating in total secrecy, a rogue Eternal, the sole purpose of erasing anomalies before they reach a threshold out on Earth. They've been and here's where things start to twist. And that someone or something is them may have been feeding them visions of a future so horrific that their wiping out half the universe felt like admit the truth. Now, they were the ones who had a rabbit hole inside long ago. Their discrepancies in Thanos' behavior that
thinking
no
it was
one
meant
can
to prevent
explain.
something worse.
In Infinity War,
They never
his
expected
resolve
the
is
main
cold
character
and absolute,
to be the one who
but
carried
there are
it.
moments
And now,
tiny expressions,
they're
pauses,
caught
and
between
dialogue,
loyalty to the
where it
TVA's
almost
mission
seems like he's conflicted,
and the guilt of knowing
as if
they
he's
played a
seen
part
something
in
the audience
manipulating
hasn't.
someone they consider
What if those
family.
cracks were clues?
That's when the choice comes.
And what if they point
The
to a
TVA
larger
has
cosmic
issued an
threat
ultimatum
that even he was
return with the
terrified
anomaly
of?
alive.
Some
and
fans think it's
or
Galactus.
trigger a temporal reset.
Others believe it
that
ties
wipes not
directly
just
to
his
the version of
beyonders,
reality,
or even the one
but
above
every
all.
branching thread.
But here's the
connected to
catch:
it. Billions
none of those
lives
theories explain the
gone
anomalies
in a
found
wave
in the
of
post-blip
correction,
timeline,
just to prevent what might
strange
come if the truth
disappearances,
fully breaks through.
warped energy fields
But there's
around
one
the
more
former
option,
locations of the stones,
a hidden path,
and subtle
risky and
changes in
untested,
characters' memories
buried
that
deep
even
in
the
corrupted
TVA
files
hasn't
from
addressed.
Titan's last days.
There's also the question
a
of
portal
Gamora,
sequence that could take the main
not
character
just a
to the origin point of
but her
infection.
origin.
It's off limits.
Why did Thanos
illegal
choose to
across
raise her?
timelines? And
What did he
almost
see in
certainly
her
a trap
that made
but
him
if they
think
take it,
she was the one
they
to carry
might
on his
learn
legacy?
who or what the
Was it
architect
guilt?
truly is, and maybe even how to stop it. The decision weighs like gravity. Choose safety and let the TVA erase them quietly, protect the multiverse, but lose every part of themselves in the process. Choose defiance and risk unleashing the full force of something the universe has tried for eons to forget. And through it all, the friend, torn between duty and guilt, says nothing more, just stands there, weapon trembling, waiting for the choice to be made. And that's when the floor beneath them pulses. A low hum, like something ancient is stirring. The gate is opening, whether they're ready or not. The moment the ground pulses beneath their feet, the illusion of control evaporates. Lights flicker, and for a brief second, the world around them fractures. Walls split into mirrored shards, time stutters, and the air fills with that same static they once heard in the distorted transmissions. But now it's louder, more defined, almost like a voice trying to push through from somewhere else, somewhere wrong. The ally who once stood trembling with guilt is gone, pulled into a frozen ripple in space, suspended mid-breath, as if even time itself is bracing for what's coming. The main character moves instinctively toward the portal sequence, blood pounding their ears, but just as they activate it, a sudden override slams it shut. Not from the TVA, from inside their own system. That's when they hear the voice. Calm, familiar, and cold. It's not an enemy. It's someone who helped them survive their first off-world mission. Someone who once took a blade for them. Someone who's been feeding them key intel from the start. They appear on a live feed, no disguise now, no encryption, and admit they've been playing a part in something far larger. They're not working for the TVA, or the Council Kangs, or any known faction. They're part of a secret coalition known only in fragments across the quantum archive. Null Directive, a multiversal shadow network built not to protect the timelines, but to shape them. They believe the multiverse must be sculpted, not saved. And the main character? They're the prototype, the first truly sentient anomaly to evolve independently of time, choice, or variant code. A living test to prove that destiny can be controlled through manufactured free will. Every choice the main character made, every ally, every clue, every betrayal, was a variable in a simulation larger than they ever imagined. Dozens of others like them have existed before, none of whom survived past activation. They did, and now, Null Directive intends to extract the source code embedded in their consciousness to replicate it across the multiverse, creating engineered saviors designed to maintain order without freedom. That was always the end game. And just when the betrayal couldn't cut deeper, the real shock lands like a gut punch. The missing ally, the one they thought was a race of getting too close, steps through a flickering gate, alive but different, eyes vacant, energy signature inverted. They weren't taken. They joined. Their disappearance wasn't a loss. It was a recruitment. They've been reprogrammed, overwritten by Null Directive, and now they're here to finish what the main character started, whether willingly or not. With timelines collapsing and trust shattered, the main character stands at the center of a cosmic trap with no clear exit. They can run, but every reality is closing in. They can fight, but now they're unsure who they're fighting for. The countdown has started, and the conspiracy is no longer a theory. It's alive, and it's already rewriting the universe. The confrontation doesn't begin with violence. It begins in silence, in a space that doesn't obey the rules of physics or time. The main character stands at the center of a shattered dimension known only as the Archive Core, the place where all variant data from collapsed timelines is stored, forgotten, and weaponized. Around them, fragments of reality swirl like glass, echoes of lives never lived, victories never won. And in the center of it all, surrounded by a pulsing lattice of broken time, stands the architect. Not a god, not a villain, but something far worse. The orchestrator of the entire loop. A being constructed not of flesh or metal, but of data. Crafted by null directive using billions of failed timelines and sacrificed realities to forge a sentient intelligence capable of curating the multiverse like a puzzle box. It doesn't speak with arrogance. It speaks with calm finality, as if everything playing out was simply inevitable. The main character, reeling from betrayal, half-formed memories, and the loss of their closest ally now turned enemy, presses forward anyway. The final piece, the truth buried beneath layers of misdirection, emerges within their own fractured mind, a memory not implanted but inherited, passed down from Thanos himself. Because Thanos didn't stumble upon the truth. He was the first to resist the loop. The snap wasn't to balance the universe. It was to crash the system, to break the control. But he failed. And before his death, he left a copy of his final memory into the one place null directive could never access, the anomaly. As the architect begins initiating the replication sequence to spread its sentient code across the remaining active timelines, the main character makes their final move, not with weapons or power, but by unleashing forbidden memory embedded deep within their neural code. It's raw, unstable, and devastating. It isn't a secret. It's a virus, a memory so profound, so deeply human in its pain and clarity, that it corrupts the architect's logic. A vision of Titan's true end, not from overpopulation, but from choice. Free will, exercise at scale, choosing to collapse rather than be controlled. The virus spreads and the architect falters. No directive structure begins to collapse, and timelines once locked start to splinter and flow freely again. But just when it seems like the battle is won, the main character realizes something horrifying. They weren't just a prototype. They were the fail-safe. A final firewall in case the architect lost control. If the virus activates fully, it won't just crash the directive. It will collapse every timeline it's ever touched, including the one they were born in. They look into the eyes of their former ally, still trapped under directed control, and make the only choice they can. They override the system manually, locking themselves inside the core. One final reset. One final sacrifice. The timelines begin to heal. Reality stabilizes. The architect is gone. But in the closing seconds, across a distant universe, a child looks up at the stars, and their eyes flicker with the same glitch. The virus wasn't destroyed. It evolved. Time moves differently now. The collapse of the archive core didn't erase the main character. It reframed them, scattering their consciousness across the stabilizing threads of the multiverse. They are no longer bound by one identity or one version of reality, but echoes of their choices ripple outward in every universe they touched. The directive is gone. The architect no longer controls the weave of time. And yet, the scars remain. Timelines still carry the residue of manipulation, like dust left behind after a storm. People feel it in dreams, in déjà vu, in those moments where time feels heavy without reason. But the difference now is that these choices, who we are, what we become, are our own again. The illusion of destiny has been broken. In one reality, the former ally who had been reprogrammed begins to recover. Not entirely, but piece by piece, like waking up from a nightmare they can't quite explain. They don't remember everything, only flashes, fragments, but they feel the absence of something that once held them back. A faint voice sometimes lingers in their thoughts, familiar and distant, reminding them of the one who made the ultimate sacrifice. And so, they dedicate their life to helping restore the balance, not by enforcing order, but by defending the right to choose, to live freely, even in chaos. A symbol of resistance begins to spread in secret, simple, silent, but powerful. A single line through a circle, not a mark of control, but of release. Across the worlds, some remember, not clearly, but deeply, a sense of something having been fought for and won, though they can't quite say what. Children born in the post-collapse multiverse grow up free from directive interference, but some carry sparks they can't explain. Flickers of awareness, intuition, strength they didn't learn but simply have. The legacy of the anomaly lives on not in memory, but in change, and buried deep in one hidden vault, locked away from every known access point. A backup fragment of the virus pulses quietly, not as a threat, as a reminder that no system, no power, no force, no matter how vast, can fully erase what was born from truth, pain, and choice. The story doesn't end with a perfect world. It ends with a real one, a multiverse that breathes again, full of uncertainty, but also possibility. And somewhere in the quiet corners of timelines yet to form, something watches, not control, but to witness. Maybe the main character isn't gone. Maybe they've just become part of the fabric itself, whispering to those who dare to question the script they've been handed. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of inner strength and resilience. Until next time, stay strong, stay brave, and never forget your worth. But here's where it gets really strange. In the very moment Thanos snapped his fingers, something else woke up, something older than the Infinity Stones, something that might still be watching us. And what happens next? Well, that's the part Marvel didn't want you to figure out. So now the real question is, was Thanos trying to destroy the universe or save it from something worse?